And welcome back, everybody. It's good to be back with you. I'm welcome to announce that we finished the exciting world of Islam, and we're now going to head into the history of Africa. We're going to start today with the geography of Africa, and also we'll go into the Empire of Ghana. One thing to know about the geography of Africa is that, as you can see in the middle part of Africa here at the top, uh, this is all going to be savanna, and what that means is grasslands. And I want you to picture something that's in between desert and forest. So desert that's really barren, forest that's really lush and green, and if savanna would be something in the middle. So savanna is going to look largely something like this. Okay, there's going to be grasslands there. Animals can feed and live here. People can live here. There'll be water, and it's a good place to farm. It's a good place to herd animals, and this is a large part of what's going to help Africa kind of bust out and become somewhat prosperous. And at the very north of Africa, we're going to have something called the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert is, at one point, it was fertile and green, way back, long, long time before the history we even talk about of man. The Sahara Desert was lush and green, but now it's a desert, and it's about as large as the United States. So it's not a small desert. In fact, it's the largest desert in the world. It's 3,000 miles long and about 1,200 miles wide. And these are the geographical regions of Africa. You can pause that if you like. And this is also something to understand is that in around Central Africa, around Cameroon or Congo River, there's a group of people called the Bantu. And the Bantu are people who belong to the Bantu language family. What they started to do is they started to somehow migrate out of the Congo, Cameroon area, and they started spreading across southern, central, eastern Africa. And while they're doing that, they shared a lot of really good things. Wherever they went, the Bantu took their culture with them. They spread skills such as pottery making, mining, and iron working. They also spread their language. Today, more than 120 million Africans speak hundreds of Bantu languages. So, because of their migration out, most Africans, arguably to say, speak some kind of form of a Bantu language family, and Swahili being the most dominant. The Bantu migrations or movements of a large number of people are the reason people in much of Africa share some common ideas and traditions. The Bantu, for example, believe in one supreme creator and a spirit world where ancestors live. This became a common belief in many places in Africa. So the Bantu is the reason for a lot of dispersing of a consistent culture and language. So here's a Bantu woman, and as I mentioned here about Swahili, it's all down there as well, and you can look if you like about the key. Now, the Bantu brought advanced farming and village organization to southern and eastern Africa. They all spoke a common language, allowed villagers to communicate and trade. Many Bantu port cities developed along the Indian Ocean. Here are some right here, and we'll have great empires and somewhat recent empires even. You have the Bantu will trade gold, ivory, minerals to Persians, to Arabs, and even Indian merchants later on in its history. And so now we're going to get into the Empire of Ghana. The Empire of Ghana is something unique because it's an empire that it's the first empire that really grows out of Africa that's not Egypt. So cut Egypt out and Nubia, okay, and all the rest of Africa, Ghana is the first. So the Empire of Ghana was located between the Niger River and the Senegal River in the Sahel, which is the grasslands area. This area is in modern day uh, Mauritania and Mali. The people of the Ghana Empire are called the Sanuki. The Sanuki name for Ghana is Wagado, which means land of herds. So we have the king of Ghana. This is a Suniki woman. We have gold nuggets here and rock salt. And all these are very significant. I'm going to explain that in the next 10 minutes. So the kings of Ghana controlled salt and gold trade between northern and western Africa. And this is what the kind of clothing that a Ghana king would wear. I'm going to give you a chance to read that if you want to pause it. Now, the Ghana Empire had a huge army of cavalry archers to defend its trade routes. Kumbai, the ancient capital of Ghana, was the most powerful trading center in West Africa from about 800 to 150 CE. So I'm going to explain this here now. So we have, this is the Empire of Ghana, that little circle there. Up above here, this is the Sahara Desert and areas along the Atlantic and Mediterranean Sea up here. Okay? And then down below, you have down here, this is desert, and down here, this is forest and beautiful, lush green lands because of all the water that's available. So you're going to have two very different resources. Here, these people have resources that these people don't have, and these people have resources that these people up here won't have. So let's talk about it. So the northern traders from the desert, they're going to trade with the people from the western part in the forest region. They're going to trade salt, copper, and cowrie shells. And if you're curious, that's what a cowrie shell looks like. You're welcome, by the way. And again, we're now going to go down and explain what these people have to offer. So these people, they are going to have cola nuts, ivory, and gold. And so to go back, so these people are going to trade with these people, and the empire is this huge middleman or piece of land that's in their way, and every one of them has to walk through the empire to get to the people where they want to trade with. Well, if you own this land, you can do something with it. So these people would take all their cola nuts and their gold and their and they would come up, and when they cross this line, the king's government would say, "Hey, you gotta pay a tax to come through our empire." So they pay a tax, and they'd go trade with these people, and they come back down, and when they came back down again, hey, you gotta pay a tax, and they'd pay a tax again to come back home. So the government of Ghana would tax these the northern and the forest traders here. Uh, they would tax them incessantly as they came back and forth trading with one another. They wouldn't go around because it was just too long. It was a quicker route to just go through, and since the tax wasn't too awful, they would bear and grin it. And so this made the Ghana Empire wealthy beyond belief because they basically just had to say, "You're on our property, fork over the cash." And that's what they did. So this is what a kola nut looks like. Here's ivory from elephant tusks, and here's gold. So West Africa produced kola nuts, palm oil, copper, and gold to send north to the Berbers. These would be transported on the Senegal and the Gambia rivers to trade with the Berbers for ceramics, glass, oil lamps, and salt. And look at this salt. Salt does not naturally occur in West Africa. The Berbers living along the Atlantic Ocean produce salt from sea water. Berbers would make salt by evaporating the seawater in small pits. So, I want you to imagine this. You have the people of the north who have the ocean with them. They would create large amounts of salt, and they would come down to the forest area, and they would trade salt. And salt was equal to gold. See, salt is a necessity. Our bodies can't live without some amount of salt. So the traders in the forest area, they needed that salt, and they couldn't get a large supply, but they had plenty of gold and other things that the north, the desert people wanted. So they had a very amicable trading situation because they both had what they want. The desert, you couldn't get a lot of gold, but you could down in the forest area. So they wanted that, and the forest people wanted the salt, and they're willing to give gold for it. So here we go. So gold is plentiful in southern Ghana. but salt was scarce. At one time, gold and salt had equal value in Ghana. A pound of salt was traded for a pound of gold. Could you imagine that? A pound of salt is equal to a pound of gold. That blows me away because nowadays that would be laughable. Now, also in Ghana, their system was matrilineal. And what does that mean? In ancient Ghana, inheritance and succession was matrilineal, meaning it followed the woman's family. When a king of Ghana died, he was succeeded by his sister's son. So it wasn't his son who succeeded him, it was his sister's son, and that would be matrilineal, meaning it goes through the woman, not the man. By the 8th century, there were large populations of Muslims throughout northern Africa. Remember, now Muslims and Islam is on the rise around this time. And so they're now coming into North Africa along here. The Berbers are starting to convert up here. And now it's coming down into the Ghana Empire and around Timbuktu and all that. So the Berbers of North Africa brought Arab scholars to teach the centers for Islamic learning in cities like Timbuktu. Muslims brought literacy, the use of written language, into the Sahel, and African cultures adopted Arabic writing for their own languages. Islam also brought many holy wars or jihad to the non-Muslim villages, cities, and kingdoms of Sahel. So the Arabs began to settle in Ghana by 900 CE. Over time, many of the people in Ghana converted to Islam, like the